And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dog with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. Excited about being in the lab with Sleep Dog. Excited about the podcast. We've got a lot of action. So
just breaking news, guys. This might be one of the greatest episodes we've ever had. I mean, I don't know if we'll have time to dive into presidential race, any other hot topic issues of the day, cybersecurity in the United States, and cryptocurrencies and things of that nature. Guys, there's nothing going on right now. Absolutely nothing. We tried so hard to find any semblance of Carolina related. Look, football opens August 29th, which seems like an eternity from now, almost 50 days away, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think we'll be catching that one on ESPN4. The only thing here, all right, I literally watched a Wimbledon match, a ladies' Wimbledon match, and it might be, it's a coin flip from me. What is better napping sports to watch? Is it the Masters or like major tennis? I don't know. I mean, I know how, dude, big Masters nappers here on SleepHawk Worldwide, but Wimbledon, dude, it's up there. Okay, so we can discuss that. We don't have to discuss that right now because we're stretching. NBA though, okay, we don't have a huge base of fans in the NBA, but a lot going on in the NBA. So we're into that. That's gonna salvage this thing for us, guys. So we'll talk about these. Klay Thompson's gone. DeMar Derozan's new place. Harrison Barnes to the Spurs. We'll talk about a sneaky good team. Paul George's 76ers. A lot of interesting moving pieces, moving parts, and it's still not over. We've still got a few key free agents out there and some guys that a lot of, teams are looking to shed salaries. Me and Big Hawk spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out how the hell the salary cap works. I don't even know. And Team USA. So the other thing is the Olympics. We'll probably start paying a little more attention to it. I've been watching this stuff, this Sprinter thing on Netflix. Good show. Got me kind of in the Olympic mood. So we'll talk about Team USA because they look, we went through the roster before we got on here. I don't think they're going to win the gold medal, but they ain't no way they can't. There's no way they shouldn't, I should say. So anyway, I don't know, guys. We'll do our best here. Just stick with, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hey, if you're leaving, if you're like, man, the hell with this episode, it's got nothing for me, just on the way out the door, just subscribe because the next one, you never know, man, it might be better. Biggest news, I think, Big Hawk, Klay Thompson leaving Golden State. I don't want to say I told you so, like to the ether, to society here, but I was pretty certain Klay was going to leave. Winds up with Dallas. I think it's an interesting landing spot. Got him a 3-year, cool $50 million or something like that. I think that's got to be the biggest move news-wise, right? I mean, maybe not necessarily the biggest player on the move, but it's a big deal. Breaks up a dynasty.
Yeah, you know what? Klay will always be remembered for, his days at Golden State because I just don't think that he's come back quite as the same player since his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
ACL, blew out his Achilles. You can't expect a player to come back, especially somebody of Klay Thompson's status, to come back and just kind of be where they were pre-injuries, and especially, somebody who's kind of dominated the shooting guard spot, kind of like Klay has. Klay is also a sneaky good defender. Like, he would lock teams up. I mean, he was a good two-way player. And honestly, by far exceeded a lot of expectations and really, has become one of the greatest shooters to play the game. But it is going to be different because I played in the NBA when Golden State was really rolling. It's going to be different seeing him in the Dallas uniform. But I will say I don't think he's quite the same player as I said previously. I'm not sure if he'll have that big of impact with Dallas, even though I think this is a good signing for Dallas because they need more players. I really thought they were one superstar or maybe two superstars away from really giving the Celtics a run or competing with them in the finals. Celtics just absolutely blew the doors off of them. But I still don't think this is enough. And quite honestly, I don't think Dallas gets back to the NBA Finals. I think the West is going to be very competitive, and there's really no team out there to me in my mind that has really set themselves apart. I think Denver's going to come back stronger. I'm going to be interested to see how Minnesota grows, especially with Anthony Edwards and Cat and Rudy Gobert. I'm going to be interested to see how they kind of evolve throughout the season, because even though they had a really good regular season, not a lot of people really gave them the credit they deserve. And also, don't forget about OKC. OKC was the number one seed to start the playoffs. They've got a young team. They've got some stars. It's going to be interesting to see how they develop as well. So I don't expect Dallas to make it back to the finals next year. Obviously, if you look at my finals prediction from last year, preseason NBA, you'd absolutely laugh at anything I have to say prediction-wise in the NBA. But I don't think this is enough for Dallas. I think they need more power.
Yeah, I agree completely. And look, it's kind of a bummer to anybody. Like, there's probably a lot of people that don't like the Warriors, or maybe they don't like Klay Thompson, right? Because they've been so good for so long. With that comes, a slew of fans and then a slew of sort of haters. You're absolutely right. Klay Thompson's not the same player he was, because if he was, the Warriors would have never gotten rid of him, right? I mean, and it's the kind of the ugly reality of the business of basketball. I mean, there's a lot of people that were wondering if they held on too long, the Warriors, keeping Klay last year. I mean, he's a big price tag guy. They were talking about trading him before he left in free agency. I was reading a report. I can't remember who it was, whether it was Ramona Shelburne or Mark Stein, somebody, way into what was going on there. Said basically Klay Thompson was just kind of pissed all season long, and it showed a lot, you know what I mean, that he felt like he wasn't getting the credit he deserved in terms of the contract negotiation and stuff. And that's just the ugly reality of basketball. I mean, the Warriors, and neither side is wrong. It's a weird situation, right? Because the Warriors had spent so much money that they had to make moves, and the only thing that you can make moves with are the pieces that other teams want, right? Like, I mean, nobody wants Chris Paul at $30-some million. Andrew Wiggins is a tough sell when he doesn't play half the year, and and nobody kind of knows why. Had a bad year last year, and of course we'll get into this, but they've got Kuminga, and they don't seem to want to move off of him. The rumor was that the Clippers were ready to trade the Warriors Paul George, but it had to include Kuminga, and the Warriors wouldn't do it. And now I'm reading that Utah is trying to move Lauri Markkanen, who has got to be the biggest player eligible to be moved, that's rumored to be moved. He's a dude 7 foot, coming off maybe his best season ever. He's a great player, and he's on his last year of his contract. So Utah knows they can't keep him around, and they're talking about maybe packaging him and Walker Kessler to the Warriors, and then Kuminga moving that way. But the Warriors thus far have said we ain't moving off Kuminga. And other than that, it's like, who are you going to move? And so, Klay has been great for a long time, but anybody that watched a lot of Warriors games the last season, and I did, some nights, dude, he'd go for 20 in the first quarter, but a lot of nights he'd go for 20, maybe on like 8 of 40. It seemed like, he couldn't throw a ball in the ocean, and he did seem to wear his emotions on his sleeve a little bit, but, there's just no taking away how good that dude was, right? I don't think he's ready. And this is the difference. Like, could he go somewhere and be like Ray Allen? I think the answer to that is no. I don't think he's the different kind of shooter, in my opinion, right? So, like, I just don't think he's going to get that kind of longevity. Like, part of his game, like you said, was that he's athletic and explosive. Not that Ray Allen wasn't, but I don't know, dude. Ray Allen's best shooter of all time, you ask me. Maybe Steph, and there's a pretty good argument to be made there. But, I I don't know, man. I think it makes sense, right? It's good signing. Didn't quite see it coming. But I think, honestly, that the Warriors, you mentioned a signing that they made, and then they just turn around and kind of replace Klay with Buddy Hield. And I mean, everybody knows that listen to this podcast. I'm like, I got to be one of the biggest Kuminga fans besides his parents in the world. But this is his year. Like, he's either going to like make the Warriors look brilliant, make SleepHawk look brilliant, or make us all look like fools. And I'm a little scared because usually if I think something's going to happen, about the opposite. So, I don't know, man. That one was a big, big shift, and it'll be really, really interesting to see. I mean, one of the questions that I jotted down for you are whether you think Golden State, as the roster's constructed right now, and it seems like unless they make a move, that because their salary situation is one of the biggest reasons why they made the move. Mm-hmm. And their salary situation seems to be pretty straightened out. I mean, they still have Wiggins, and I think they'd love to move him, but I don't think there's just a market to get much for him. And the way they're structured right now, I think they can stay there. And the question kind of is like, are they a better team or a worse team than they were last year? I mean, I think they finished either 9th or 10th in the West and didn't make the playoffs, lost in the play-in.
I think they're in a better position, and the reason I say that is because Chris Paul was hurt for a majority of the year. Mm-hmm. He took up such a big payroll in their salaries. Wiggins was hurt as well. They were dealing with some injuries. Draymond, his whole issues. The thing that concerns me with the Warriors is their lack of size. If you look at the West, a lot of the teams that, are really excelling, you look at Denver, they have a lot of size. You look at Minnesota, they have a lot of size. And you mentioned the Lorden and the Walker Kessler trade to the Warriors. That is a little like I would look at that one, but the Warriors need to find some size. That is my only concern with them. I think they have great players. Obviously, they've got to build a roster, a championship roster, because they have Steph Curry. And I still think Steph is somewhat, a guy that you can rely on to take you to the championship game and actually win you a championship. To me, I do believe that Kuminga, this is a big year. I think, what is it? Is it third or fourth year?
This will be his fourth year, yeah.
This is fourth year. So, this is I do think that they're going to open up a lot of playing time for him. And I think a thing that's kind of hurt Kuminga's game especially is the inconsistency in some of his minutes. As kind of a young player, I think every player in the NBA kind of battles with, consistent playing time when they first start to, make a name for themselves. I think a lot of young players, that is a challenge and how to deal with that. But I think that the Warriors, they understand what he can do and what type of player he can be. So they're going to actually have to give him a legit shot. He's shown a lot of flashes, Sleep, and he's a good NBA player. There's no question about it. He's already established that. I've always said, is he superstar good? Because we think, especially you think he has the ability, the athleticism, size. He just has to kind of put it together with those consistent minutes. We'll get a realistic look and see whether that's going to happen or not. But by God, I sure hope it does, because
that makes two. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Kuminga is like last year they were trying. And this is the problem with having Klay on the roster, is like they're trying to figure out who's second to Steph, and of course they want it to be Klay. It's like de facto Klay because he's earned it, right? But if Klay isn't Klay, you're sort of like giving him the keys to a car that he's not very good at driving anymore, right? And so there's this whole sort of thing. Some nights it's Baczynski, some nights it's Kuminga, some nights it's Wiggins, some nights it's a few of these other guys. But the second offensive weapon was a floating target for the Warriors all season. And so now the biggest challenge I see for Kuminga is you're going to get the opportunity to be the second guy, and other teams are going to know that, right? So now how are you going to play when teams prepare for you? And I think that's the biggest difference between, Anthony Edwards. Once people knew what he was all about, they started preparing for him. He torch people anyway. But he still has some rough shooting nights when the right defensive scheme comes along. So it'll be interesting. The thing to me about Kuminga that is just so underrated about his game, so underrated, is his mid-range. He's not afraid to shoot it. It's a pure shot. Like, a lot of people talk shit about his jump shot. And I'm like, dude, this guy is money from 10 to 15 feet. All positions on the court, and he's not afraid to shoot that shot. And that's, like, in my opinion, is a lost art in the NBA. Like, a lot of guys don't shoot mid-range anymore. So anyway, I mean, I think this is his year, and I'm super pumped to watch. But yeah, Klay leaving will be really, really interesting. And if I'm being 100% honest, like, if Golden State is a title contender this year, I mean, Jonathan Kuminga might be the next damn Michael Jordan. Okay. Like, it's going to take a lot for them to contend, in my opinion. And it's like you said, like, I think they've answered some questions about their roster is less sort of in flux and it's more concrete. I think they've made good moves, but they haven't brought in a guy where I'm like, that's it, they're good now. So I definitely see them sort of like making the playoffs and being a little more sort of consistent, but I don't necessarily know that they're going to be a huge favorite to win it all. The 76ers, on the other hand, so they got Paul George and they got Tyrese Maxey, and got to think that, Embiid's happy now. And who else did they get? They got the other guard. It was kind of a weird thing that they got. Oh, they got Jared McCain. Anyway. So, George, Embiid, Maxey. Dude, that covers 3, big pieces in the starting 5. So I don't know, man. I think they could be really good at all, but it's still going to boil down to Embiid, staying healthy. But they're going to be good. DeRozan goes to Sacramento. That's like yesterday or maybe today. And as part of that trade, our boy Harrison Barnes goes to San Antonio. We were laughing before the show started. I was like, hey, man, I think San Antonio is going to be sneaky next year. Like, they've made a couple good signings. They got this Sochan kid. We remember him from Baylor because he was like an antagonist. But he's been a good NBA player. They got Devin Vassell, good NBA player. They've got Wemby, of course, and now they have Chris Paul, and they have what's his face, Harrison Barnes. So, like, and they got Pop, and so Big Hawk was like, "Well, how good is good?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I think they got outside shot to make the playoffs, which is basically like half the league makes the playoffs. So it ain't like they're going to be great, but I mean, Wemby's pretty great, and I think it's an interesting thing because Harrison Barnes is only 32 years old. I didn't realize that. Like, Harrison Barnes is not crazy. A super old guy, I mean, there's like DeRozan is 35. I didn't realize that either, So, I don't know, dude. I think San Antonio is interesting. What do you think is I don't know. What are those moves? Obviously, Harrison Barnes is just something like he's not the missing link that's going to take the Spurs to the NBA Finals. But, between, DeRozan going to an already good team, and then Paul George is obviously like he was who everybody wanted. Paul George got to be the biggest name to move. But I don't know. What do you think about those moves?
Well, Sleep Dog, I'll start off with Harrison Barnes going to the Spurs. And let's not forget, they have 2 Carolina players now, Harrison Ingram too, and their both names are Harrison, which is the first thing that stands out to Monopoly me is how interesting. How interesting that is. Harrison Squared.
Hopefully Popovich is calling people by the last name. Otherwise, he might not know who they're talking to.
Yeah. And, Harrison Barnes is making a lot of money. And, forget how young he is and how good of a career he has had because he kind of flies under the radar. I think that's a great signing for the Spurs. I like this one more than DeRozan actually going to the Kings because I do think that Harrison Barnes will fit the system for Popovich very well, and I think he'll be a guy that can provide a lot of outside shooting, especially for Wemby. And he's a good veteran guy. He's a great teammate, smart player, so he'll pick up the schemes and the offense very quick, which, he's been in the NBA long enough that he should know what the Spurs run, and he'll just jump right in there and figure that out. I actually do like him at the Spurs. I think he's going to have a great year. DeRozan to the Kings. I'm going to be interested to see how this works. I played with DeRozan. He's very ball dominant. He's had some, a lot of people have criticized his defensive effort, but they do have a lot of players. They're a very good team. Fox is dominant, ball dominant as well. So I'm going to be interested to see how that dynamic works. DeRozan, he's an unbelievable player, all-star. I'm interested to see how it's going to work because him and Fox, they're going to demand the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see how that one works. But DeRozan's, man, he's incredible. He's athletic. He can get you a bucket. ISO guy for sure. Mid-range guy as well. And then PG, Paul George to the 76ers. The whole thing with the 76ers, to me, Sleep, and you said it, Embiid's health. Can he stay healthy? That's always been the issue. It's never, whether they're good enough or not. Can Embiid stay healthy? Can he play a whole year and be healthy enough to play in the playoffs? Now, whatever he has to do to get that done, whether it's get in shape before the season starts, that would be, we've been saying that every year in the NBA. It'd be quite a, I'd be curious if I was Embiid. He's like, hey, if I got in a little bit of shape before the season, do you think it'd help me? I wonder if he ever has thought that.
I don't know.
Because he gets paid enough.
Trying to get in shape, and I understand. Well, I'm not getting paid enough, but I certainly understand how hard it can be just to throw him a bone there. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing about the 76ers is Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA. I played for him at Toronto. Great offensive coach. He gives his players a lot of freedom, a lot of movement. I do think Paul George will excel in that type of offense. And I'm maybe curious about this. When I look at the East, the contenders to me, everyone's talking about New York, not me. I think New York max this year. I'm not sold on him for next year. Brunson, great story, great player. Whatever accomplished a lot. The team I'm interested in is Milwaukee, Damian Lillard and Giannis. Now, people are kind of sleeping on this team. Don't forget about those two superstars. Giannis was hurt. Don't forget about what he can do. He can still lead you to a title. The Pacers are very intriguing. I think they're a fun team to watch. But the Celtics are the top dog in the East. The Celtics,
I doubted them long enough.
Yeah, the Celtics. Then you got the Bucks, and then right under them, I would put the 76ers. Right under the 76ers, I would put the Pacers. That's where I have it.
Yeah, it's a toss-up for everybody else. I think Orlando's another really interesting team in the East because we were talking about this too. Is like Banchero is really good, and it sucks that he's really good because we don't want him to be, but he is. And then they just signed Franz Wagner for $200+ million. That's the other thing here about these fourth-year guys. Wagner, they're locking him down. Cade Cunningham got a $220-some million rookie max extension. So you got a handful of other guys in that class. You got Kuminga, kind of smart, I think, on Golden State's, part, if I'm being completely honest, to not lock him down right this second. Now, they might try to before the season starts, but it's kind of like, look, we're putting all our chips on the table here. And I think from a negotiation standpoint, you can come to his people and say, listen, look, if you ain't clear that we're sold on him, so now it's time to show us, and if you do, you're getting paid. And if you don't, you're not. Evan Mobley, going to get paid. Jalen Suggs, I think, already got a good contract, and he's like the 7th or 8th pick in that draft. Who the hell else? Giddey was up there. He just got traded, and he's at hopefully he's in Chicago, 21 and up club. And then they got Jalen Green's going to get paid. And there's another guy I'm missing, I think, out of that class. It's also wait. Oh, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is going to get paid.
Yep.
So those guys are all going to get locked down. It's a really good class, in my opinion. So anyway, going to be fun to watch. Paul George is interesting to me because Paul George is one of these guys that, at least for me, and I think probably for a lot of casual fans, he seems like overrated, maybe, right? But he really feels to me these guys like him, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving. I had a couple others in my head. These guys that are like, you don't realize just how James Harden is, I think, kind of another one. You don't realize just how good these guys are, right? Like we saw it last year, like Anthony Davis healthy, guys getting like 30 and 15 a night. Like Kyrie, everybody in the NBA is like, this dude's one of the best players of all time. You're like, well, I just don't see that. Paul George is good. Paul George is really like MVP caliber player. So it's like, is he ever going to win an MVP? Probably not, because he's either been in Indy where the team wasn't very good or, alongside other stars. So I don't see him being the MVP, but I mean, he is that good, So
Sleep, calm down there. I played with him in Indy. This is as close as he ever got to the NBA Finals. Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals against Miami, lost to LeBron. But I'm with you. I always tell people, sometimes people ask me who's the most talented or best player you've ever played with. It's Paul George. I played with PG before he got paid. And that dude worked hard. He was a great teammate. And also, he could do it all, man. He could do it all, Sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, he could play defense. He could lock people up. What you don't understand is PG is also about 6'9" and athletic. And he can move.
Nuts, dude.
He's unbelievable. Once you see him, you'll realize how long and tall he actually is. But the thing about Paul George that's exceptional is his passing.
Mm-hmm.
He is a great passer. He will find you, and he will find his teammates. He's a great passer, kind of underrated. A lot of people don't talk about that. But PG is by far the most talented player I've ever played. Now, there has been some questions about how hard he's worked since he's gotten paid. I can't speak to that. That's just a rumor going around. But he is capable of being a top dog on a championship level team. And, I played with him in his breakout year with Indy in the playoffs. Everyone kind of remembers when he dunked on Birdman. That was kind of the highlight of that year. Crushed it on him right down the lane. That dude is so athletic, man. Sleep. If you see him coming down the lane, dude, he is going to put it on your. I mean, this dude is. Yeah, he's had some crazy dunks. But I'm going to be interested to see how that works. And he is the most talented player I've ever played with.
I forgot all about that Indy game. Yeah, I didn't give him the credit. At first, I was like, "Are you about to say that Paul George isn't that good?" And I totally forgot about you guys almost going to the damn finals. So here it is, Sleep Dog, just getting just served left and right, man. That's the most intriguing thing to me. Like I really do, because I think Embiid kind of turned a corner last year. His injury at the end of the year was like really a bummer, because he was having like an unquestionable MVP season last year and got hurt. And so if he can stay healthy, you mentioned coming in shape, but damn, he was playing good for a long time. And then toward the end of the year, but I guess that's what coming in shape is it's not, it's like when the wear and tear starts to add up, how long can that subside? And then you're also saying not only, you got to stay healthy through the regular season, but then if you're going to make a deep run in the playoffs, I mean, you're going to be in some slugfest with some teams going 6-7 games, that adds a lot to it. I mean, that's another, I think that's the hard part that a lot of people don't think about. What is it? 3 rounds, and you got, potential to play 21 games. That's a quarter of a season. So, I don't know. You're right about that.
And Sleep, the other thing is, a lot of these dudes that have these injuries, they're so big. People don't talk about, like the impact of Embiid being like 7'1", 300,
like Zion's weight and stuff.
Yeah. Like all that has a huge impact on a player. Like we're not talking about a normal guy with some bad knees. We're talking about somebody with some bad knees that weighs 300 pounds, and their bones and their joints and everything are so much bigger than the normal person.
30-inch
I think
vertical.
that all plays. Yeah, I think that plays a huge part. Omari Stoudemire was one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Rose was one of those guys who was obviously he wasn't big, but they're so athletic and they're so explosive. Sometimes I wonder whether the body is meant to have that type of stress when they explode and that force when they push off. If the body is meant to handle that, because you see these guys kind of break down early. And Embiid, I think the reason he should get in shape is because obviously I think losing some weight would help those joints not take such a crushing when he's 330 something pounds running down the floor.
Well, you see that in all sports. Your best football players cut and there goes a ACL, or you see baseball players, great pitchers, just blow out their elbows, right? Like, I mean, there are consequences of basically being superhuman, and that's an interesting point of view. And sometimes, some of it boils down to luck with some of these teams getting down to the end. So I don't know. I think all things being considered, it's, again, like we keep saying, the NBA is a great product, and I think it's going to be even better this year. Maybe the 76ers got to be the favorite to win the in-season tournament. Surely Embiid can stay healthy that long. Hard to believe, didn't the Lakers win it last year? Lakers won the damn in-season tournament and
beat the Pacers, I think.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure everybody really cared. Team USA. We'll get out of here on this. Speaking of basketball, here's the Team USA roster. I just pulled it up right before here. We got Bam Adebayo. Casual fan doesn't realize how good he is. Do you know he's from High Point? I didn't know that. Devin Booker,
I knew that.
Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum. That's their team. Head coach Steve Kerr, Mark Few, Ty Lue, Eric Spoelstra. I mean, even the coaches are great. How do they not win? I mean, they got to be the favorite, right? I mean, while you answer this question, I'm going to go look up the odds. I mean, surely USA is always the favorite.
If they're not the betting favorites right now, we need to go ahead and play some bets, because I don't see this team losing. Obviously, teams have gotten, basketball has gotten better globally, but we should always dominate the Olympics. And the one thing that I look at when I look at this roster is the head coach. There's no more Coach K there. Obviously, Steve Kerr has kind of taken over. So, the whole K recruiting pitch, we won't have to hear that, or how close he is to the players. But that's not a knock. I mean, good God. I mean, obviously K is great, but I mean, listening to him coach the Olympic team, and then, how great of a relationship he established with all the superstars there, and how they stay in contact, and how they call him when they had slump, whatever. I was just like, get real. But, Sleep, this team is not losing, period. I mean, they may have a close game or two. They may even, they may not show up when it doesn't, or when it doesn't count, but when it counts and they need to get this medal, they're going to get the gold. I think they're too talented, obviously. I mean, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here.
They're minus 390. They're definitely the favorite. Second is plus 850 is Canada. Canada's got a good team. You want to hear Canada's roster?
Yeah.
Canada basketball.
I can guess some of the players.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. Let me pull them up here. Okay.
SGA, Shea, Alexander Gilders, Kelly Olynyk.
Yep. Dude, their team is doo-doo. Keep going.
And now that I said that, all right.
Dude, there ain't a whole lot of people on here that'll really jump off the page at you. There's one other guy. All right. Dylan Brooks is the one dude that you probably
nope, I didn't even know he's Canadian.
Yeah. Kyle Alexander, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, RJ Barrett, Trey Bell Haynes. I guess he's a college dude. Lou Dort is good, great player. Would love to have him on a Team USA. He's Drew Holiday. Zach Edey, Melvin Hajim, SGA, Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell. And this is fitting. I don't know who this guy is, but Phil Scrubb. Yeah, dude. How the hell they're 850? No chance. They don't even make the final. Not even close. I mean, God knows. I mean, the thing about, SGA is that good, right? And that's the thing about the Olympics. Some of these guys got, you got, look, Luka they didn't even make the Olympics. They didn't even qualify. Giannis beat him. But, you got Greece, got Giannis. You know what I'm saying? Like, guy gets on one with a point to prove. In the past, these teams in Spain and Argentina and all this sort of stuff, and the Olympics are interesting because it's all about chemistry. Because with Team USA, you got just dudes. I mean, all these guys. Now, the thing of it is, I think is, and then you've also got this sort of like, I'm like, the guy that stands out to me. So Anthony Edwards is not shy at all about how good he thinks he is. And I tend to agree with him. Halliburton seems like quintessential. What do you need me to do? These are the new guys. Okay. Tatum, I wouldn't say he's even a new guy. I mean, he's earned, he just won a championship. So he's got everybody's respect. The guy that's interesting to me is Devin Booker. I feel like Devin Booker is a guy on that team that's, I mean, if I had to pick the worst player, he's one of these guys everybody loves. Devin Booker's a great scorer, but I don't know. But aside from that, I don't really see anybody that jumps off the page at me as, I don't know. I could see these guys being there and just like, where's that? Paris? Paris is a problem too. Paris is a problem for these guys that are
the French team's not bad.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they're over here in Paris. You got LeBron. I got to feel like LeBron cares more about like being in Paris and winning a gold medal. Maybe, I don't know. That's a really dumb thing for me to say because that's not true at all. I don't really know where that came from. I'm just saying, if they were in like Lillehammer or wherever, somewhere crazy, maybe the nightlife wouldn't. A couple of these guys would go play Cameroon, and they were all slam bone the night before on French Bordeaux, and then maybe cough one up. I don't know, man. There's just no way. But minus 390, I would have felt like Team USA should be a much bigger favorite. I want to know what
you're right.
The dream team was.
Yeah, I think the Bordeaux may have a factor on this one, Sleep. Once that thing gets flowing, and in Paris, right there in the heart of Paris, the city of love. I don't know if that is true or not, but I think that could have an impact. And who knows what their discipline or what their routine's going to be like, because Team USA, they can make it a little interesting if they want to. And if that Bordeaux gets to flowing, man, you never know.
I don't know how to. I wonder. I'm trying to find the dream team odds.
The dream team was so dominant because the game wasn't as global.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great point. That is a great point. Because that's the thing here that's a little bit different is SGA, one of the best players in the NBA. He plays for Canada. Luka, best players in the NBA, plays for another country. Giannis, best player in the NBA, plays for a different country. Right? And there's probably a few other guys. There's some really good NBA players that play on other teams. And back then, brother, like they were all in the US. I mean, they were all I think every single one of the guys on that team besides Christian Laettner's top 75 all time. I mean, those guys that documentary is one of the best of all time. And I love they blackballed Isaiah Thomas off there. And by that,
he's still bitter about that today.
I know. He's pissed about it. Wants an apology. Like, bro, you think Michael Jordan's going to apologize? Get out of here, dude.
Yeah. The other thing I will say just about this is the Olympics is an international game. Obviously, the rules are much different than the NBA. It's much more physical. I can see that throwing off Team USA, and especially since they play with a different ball. The rules are just a little bit different, and they allow almost allow offensive goaltending where a guy can tip it in even though it's inside the cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
So the rules will be a little bit different. I'm not sure if they allow defensive 3 seconds in international rules, but I could see that affecting Team USA a little bit.
Definitely not enough to lose. Smart money's on.
I'm trying to draw out a scenario where it could really.
Smart money's on the red, white, and blue, guys. All right. Friday, July 26th. That is when the Olympics start through August 11th. So that's what
I'm going to be
tuned
tuned in.
Forward to.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, it'll be the Olympics will be fun to watch all around this year. So, guys, I don't know how we did that. If you stayed with us this long, you're probably already a subscriber. So I don't even have to ask you. You probably got a subscription to Jimmy's Seafood, so I don't even have to remind you about that. But you probably got you're probably sitting there in your t-shirt right now. I don't have to remind you about that. So we appreciate it. You got anything? Let us know. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Hot out there.